Okay, so I'm actually super excited about this week's deal, but also we have a big announcement on our end. Spent the better part of the last 2 weeks coming up with our kind of our offer for this stuff and also our guarantee that we're going to do. So we're actually going to guarantee our underwriting on all these deals. So if you're a realtor presenting these to your clients, you can show how confident we are in our underwriting. So we're going to be conservative enough to be confident in it, and then also basically back it up with a guarantee where basically we don't make money unless your clients make money. So these deals are typically pretty good. If they're the deal of the week, they're going to be outstanding. So first things first, I'm going to cover what our offer includes on our infill deal list. Let me pull that up to share. Okay, so this is what it entails. Um, so basically, we're calling this our Matson Homes 6 figures in 36 months or less infill deal offer. So we have downside protection, transparency, and a proven process. So a lot of times, investors are, because this isn't necessarily a technique that they're used to, all investors are, concerned about losing money on a bad deal. They don't necessarily know the process, or they're afraid of making a mistake. They're worried that projects can drag on too long, contractors cutting corners, or not having any control or visibility. And so basically we crafted this to eliminate those concerns and establish value for clients. So the core components of this, the number one thing is expert deal underwriting. So we're actually going to share all of our underwriting tools with the end buyers free of charge. So we're going to underwrite it, but then we'll also share those tools so clients can do their own underwriting. They can use their own underwriting tools if they have them, but we'll actually share all of our calculators that we use. We'll also have offer and negotiation support. So, we buy these deals ourselves. Typically, we buy the mid-size development deals, but we bought these deals, so we know how to structure and present offers to basically maximize due diligence time as much as possible. So we're going to guide realtors and their realtors and their clients to making the best deal possible. Then we're also going to have the step-by-step due diligence. So we won't leave clients in the dark. We'll walk them through the due diligence process step by step, and we'll actually even complete most of the due diligence for them. And at the end of the phase, they're going to have the opportunity to decide whether to proceed or not. So we'll basically give them a one-page go or no-go deal sheet that lays out all the numbers and risk. So we're a licensed general contractor. So we will also, on any of these houses that need renovation, we'll renovate the house for them. That's partly how we make our money there. So we actually charge a fee to renovate. That's where we make our money, and on other things as well. But we'll underwrite that renovation into the deal. Not all houses need renovation. Some of them are turnkey. Some of them do need renovation. So it just depends on the deal. We'll also do the entitlement management. This is where we also charge a fee to manage the project. So we'll run the entire process from due diligence, and once you close on it, all the way through entitlements to get an approved deal. So we've already been through the pitfalls on this. We know how to minimize the delays and keep the projects moving forward. We also do the horizontal development. That's where our general contracting comes in handy as well. So we manage this land development process. We put in all the infrastructure, roads, sidewalks. On most of these lot splits, most of them, I would say, are going to require sidewalks minimum, sometimes curb gutter. I'd say most of the time curb gutter also. Occasionally street widening. If they have alley access, sometimes the alleys have to be partially paved. So we manage that whole process and put in that infrastructure. Some of the medium-sized deals, you're talking about also putting in, sewer mains and water mains, and we do all that stuff as well. And then we also do the vertical construction. This is where we primarily make our money, is on the new construction. So, this is where the our biggest profit comes from, is the newest or on the vertical construction of the new building on the split. So we oversee every step of construction here as well. And then, we've been through this process a lot, so we kind of have the process down and it's well oiled. Some of the bonus offers that we have as part of this as well. So number one is anybody that's on the list will get our the ultimate guide introduction to infill development. So this is a free download that we give people that basically just explains the infill development process and gives you a little bit more knowledge on it. And then bonus offer number two is our due diligence checklist. So you can follow along through the due diligence and you can fill in the progress and have answers to the major questions. This is something that we do on every deal. So, and just to be, upfront or explain a little bit too. So like when we go over this deal list, the deal list, every deal that's on the deal list has been gone through just a really quick, high level review of if something can be done on it. Once a project is under contract, that's where we really dive into the due diligence on each specific property. And then we'll talk about how the guarantees work as well, because it's based on the more in-depth due diligence. But if it's on the list, it generally has some kind of capability. And then once it's under contract, we'll deep dive into the due diligence further. Bonus number three, so before the end of the due diligence, so we're going to provide you with a one-page underwriting worksheet. This is what we guarantee or base our guarantee on. So this acts as a final go or no-go for underwriting, and you can base your final investment decision on it, or your clients can base their final investment decision on this. And then at the end of the project, we'll compare results with this guaranteed underwriting worksheet. Number four is, so we'll provide you with an entitlement process checklist and projected timelines. So we've gone through the entitlement process. We'll put together, each entitlement is different depending on what happens with it. So this will be provided basically once we start the due diligence process, because it ultimately depends on the type of application that we're doing for entitlement, and then also the city or county that we're doing the entitlement in. Number five, so we're also going to provide a complete construction process and inspection checklist. So again, this just basically kind of opens up our book of what we do during construction and all the inspections that we do. We actually have four. Let me look at this comment here really quick. Okay, so we have 4 third-party inspections. So that's what the other thing that we provide on every single build that we do. So we hire a third-party inspection company. They inspect at 4 key phases. That's at framing and rough-ends, drywall, interior and exterior finishes, and then a final inspection. Sometimes that'll be a fifth if the final inspection still has issues. Then we'll come back and do a fifth and final inspection after that. Usually at this point, though, we've covered all those repairs. So this is just designed to provide peace of mind, and that the client or the investor has a quality home, even behind the walls and between the studs. Number 7, so we're going to have we'll host a monthly progress call. Where we'll review all current projects. So this will be a call that's open to everybody, whether they own one of these projects or
I can't keep going without bro with me. Hugged on me, mama when he died, like them tears. We gonna get back in blood. How you ain't slide for your nigga supposed to crash me, someone you love.
Wow. That's funny.
That's different. I haven't seen that happen
yeah.
before.
Was that part of the presentation, Zach, or is that just a little add-on?
Yeah, making sure you guys are awake.
Woo,
That's great.
okay.
That is funny. All right, so yeah, so our monthly progress call basically will be open to everybody, whether they have a deal in progress or they're just curious on what's happening. And then we'll also have follow-up calls for individual projects that we'll schedule as wanted or needed with by investors or their realtors. So, but basically every month we'll cover the progress that's being made on all projects that we have in the pipeline. Bonus offer number 8. So we're going to provide you with an entitlements guarantee. So basically what this is, we're going to guarantee that if you don't achieve the unit count that we underwrite, we're going to waive our next fee or apply it towards the development costs. So if we say on a deal that we can split something off and build 2 more homes, if we can't build 2 more homes, then we're going to take whatever fee that we charge to do that and apply it towards the development cost so they can only do 1. Or if they end up just saying, okay, we're going to sell this deal because we can only do 1 and not 2, then we'll apply that our fee towards the next deal and do that at no cost. So that's our portion of the fee. They'll still have to pay for, like, you know, the engineering fees or whatever that that are still part of entitlements, but we'll waive our cost. Bonus offer number 9. So that's where we get into our underwriting guarantees. So we're going to guarantee that if the project doesn't meet at least 100% of the cash flow or profit projected at final underwriting, we'll refund you up until it does. So that's up to 50,000 per deal, and that should be more than enough. And the crazy thing about this guarantee too is I'm actually taking accountability for what the market does on top of this. So not only are we guaranteeing our numbers, we're saying, okay, in 2 years when this is done, if the market changes for the worse, you know, we're still at risk of, you know, basically not making any money on it as a company ourselves. But the reason why we do this is because we're going to be super conservative. We're going to take, and, you know, even my deals that have, you know, not turned out as good as I wanted or whatever, they still look good 3 years from now, typically, or 2 years from now, because we underwrite conservatively at the very beginning. So, and then as far as the investors go, what their role is, so they're going to own the deal. So they make all the big decisions. We're just doing all the heavy lifting. The target is 6 figures in 36 months or less. Some of these deals are 18 months, some are 24 months. Some of them are 36 months. On mid-sized developments, if you have clients that are doing, you know, multi-unit developments, this is going to change. But the 6 figures is actually going to be higher anyway. So we'll talk about that in individual deals if it's not just a single lot split. All right, and then we're gonna have, you know, we have multiple exit strategies on all these deals, as you guys will see and have seen in our deal list. I'll show you. The investor's protection is they have visibility into the cost, timelines, and progress. And then the investor has the full ownership. So they always have control over what happens with the deal. So if things turn south, they can always, you know, either fire us or, you know, change strategy midway through the project. You know, we only get paid when the deal performs. Obviously, we're going to, you know, have different ways that we make money throughout the deal, but at the end, in our biggest return, which is the new construction build, you know, we don't get paid unless the deal performs or don't get paid our full amount. And then why Matson Homes? So we specialize in infill development. So we do small multifamily, single home construction, ADUs, subdivisions, typically small and medium-sized subdivisions. So this is the exact strategies that, you know, places like Boise and Meridian and other cities are now encouraging. And we've also done every single step in this multiple times. So we've done flips, we've done buy and hold, we've done medium-sized subdivisions, small subdivisions. We've done single lot builds. You know, we've done all this ourselves, so we know the underwriting. And then, so really the whole objective here is that they're not gambling on a risky flip. You're partnering with a team that's already mastered the process, protects investors' downside, and guarantees the key results that matter. So let's get into the deals here. So this is the third week in a row where there wasn't really any new deals that came on the market that were just amazing. I'm gonna stop my share here and get this reloaded. Anybody have any questions with that up to this point? Okay, so yeah, so this third week in a row where nothing really new came on the market, where it's was an outstanding deal. But what did happen is this 1202 West Hale Street. This was actually a deal of the week back on June 27th, and it went pending over that same weekend. And so just a couple days ago, it came back on the market. Now, I haven't researched why it came back on the market. Chances are there was something with it's typically either something on the inspection or a lot of times lately financing. But we have it, and we actually analyzed this the first time. We analyzed this more of as like a split and build and then, sell the original house. But this is actually a way better deal to keep the existing house, maximize it for rents, and split a lot off and build a new house and maximize those rents as well. So that's how we analyzed it this time. And so we have a purchase price of 550. This cash out of pocket requirement. So this is buying the original house with 25% down. And then doing some sort of, this would probably be like some kind of combination loan plus construction loan, because what we would want them to do is build a build a detached garage with an ADU. So this budget covers building a detached garage with an ADU above with 2 bedrooms that they can rent. And then also the floor plan on this house, there's like 3 or 2 extra living rooms that can be converted to bedrooms. And so we can turn this 4-bedroom house into a 6-bedroom house. This is like 3 blocks from BSU. So this would be perfect for a rent by the room. The house can turn into a 6-bedroom rental. We can build a separate ADU above the garage as 2 bedrooms. All those bedrooms are going to rent for at least $800 a month. In fact, I looked up, I should have had that pulled up separately. But anyway, if anybody wants the link, I'll send them the link. There's a house that recently sold that had all the rental income. It was a house similar to this where they were renting the bedrooms by the room. I think it was a 5-bedroom house, and the lowest rent was $775. There was a couple at $875, a couple at I think one at $975, and one at $1,000 a month. I think that was the primary suite. So basically, the underwriting factors in kind of on the low side what the rents would be on this house. And then the new house is going to be a 2,100 square foot house. We can do 6 bedrooms, 5.5 bathrooms there. So what we would do on that is do like a primary suite and then with its own bathroom. And then we would have a half bathroom, half common bathroom, like on the main floor, probably in the entry somewhere underneath the stairs. And then we would also do, let's see, so 3 other bedrooms with en suites, and then another 2 bedrooms with like a Jack and Jill bathroom. And then all those bedrooms can be rented out individually. We can also build a basement on here, which doesn't count against the maximum square footage on the lot. And so you can build in the basement, do a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 900 square foot ADU so each bedroom would have their own bathroom to maximize the rents on that as well. And I think so, even looking at when I wrote out these rents, so this is the existing house. This would be the new ADU above the garage, renting those out at 900 a piece. The older house, 800 a piece. And this house, by the way, too, like, it's pretty turnkey. There's not any major renovations that appear necessary. It's a little bit dated, but it's still, fine. it's like dated from like 10 years ago, maybe not. It's not bad. And then there's a primary suite on the top floor that has its own bathroom. So that could probably get $1,000 a month. These rents are for the new house. So the basement ADUs. So that just because this would be brand new and they'd each have their own bathroom, $950 a month, and then $900 a month on the other 4 bedrooms. And then with their own en suites, and then $850 a month for the shared bathroom units. So that can all be fit in 2,100 square feet on the house, and then plus the 900 square feet in the basement. So that's 3,000 square foot house plus an attached 2-car garage. Oh, and by the way, what's not factored into these rents even, but I did factor it into my underwriting on the total cash flow. You can also rent out, so on the existing property, let me pull up this link actually. So there's room to build a detached garage here. And really on these type of things, so not everybody's going to want, garage space, but if somebody has extra storage that they want, so the garage would go right here. We can make this deep enough so there'd actually be, it'd make the 2 bedrooms upstairs more functional, but also deep enough on the garage where you can actually put individual storage units on the backside. So you can charge like an extra $50 a month for those. Plus you can rent out the individual stalls of the garage. We would probably build the garage so it's kind of separated down the middle. So you actually have 2 separate garage units that could be rented, probably $100 a month. That's less than a storage space even. And then on the house, you could do the same thing. So you could rent out the garage spaces in the house as well for extra income. So that's not even factored into this underwriting on my spreadsheet. I did factor it into the NOI. So I'm going to pull up. So this is the NOI on each unit. This is for the new house. So estimated monthly rent. So that's those the bedrooms broken down, and then this is the extra monthly rent for the garage spaces. So we have an NOI. I guess I'll explain more of these specific details. So this is estimated taxes in that area for a single family house with an ADU, estimated insurance, utilities. So when you rent by the room, you pretty much have to pay all the utilities. So this would be a little bit more energy efficient because it's a new construction. I think they would actually likely be less than this, but this is like roughly a little shy of $400 a month. That's for trash, sewer, water, electrical, gas. And then you have maintenance and repairs. So one thing that you would want to do is do like your monthly, lawn mowing and stuff in the summer. So that would cover that. There's going to be minimal repairs, at least, big repairs typically on a new construction house, just because you don't have any of those big capital expenses. So the repairs are really going to be, fixing stuff that people break maybe when they move out, or, really what we'd probably design this is like LVP throughout the whole house. So you don't have, carpet stains that you have to worry about, that kind of thing. So really it'd be minimal repairs and maintenance. This is probably a little high even for a new construction. This property management is actually factoring in 10% property management fee. And we did that a little bit, probably higher than what it needs to be, but that's just because it's rent by the room. So, if and during underwriting and due diligence, we'll actually reach out to property management companies and find somebody that does this by the room. And if they don't, figure out, if they would and what they would charge for it. So this will be part of the underwriting. And then the other operating expenses, this is actually the vacancy rate. So I factored in 4% vacancy. Pretty sure the stuff over by BSU is almost 0% vacancy besides just the turnover in between tenants. But 4% is higher than the average of Boise. So that's the new unit. This is for the existing house. So this would be after adding the extra 2 bedrooms and after building the ADU. Now I will say too, on the existing house, it'll actually cash flow from day one by renting out the 6 bedrooms. We can get the extra 2 bedrooms added like within a matter of a couple weeks. It's just a matter of framing it and drywalling it, and then it's ready to go. So you can literally have it rented 2 weeks after close and start cash flowing immediately. And then building the garage and ADU after that, it'll take about a month to get through permitting, and then another 6 months to build it. So 7 months later, 7 or 8 months later, they have additional income coming in off of that. Probably perfect for the next school year. And then yeah, and then the other house would be a couple years after that because it takes a little bit of time to split off that. But the good thing with all this is basically they're cash flowing from the very first day. This is estimating taxes. So the current taxes on it are 4,200. I'm estimating that adding the garage and ADU probably add $500 to the property tax. Insurance estimated 2,200. Utilities would be probably a little bit higher because that older house is probably a little bit more expensive. So there's a little bit over $400 a month. And then this one, again, repairs and maintenance. This is probably a little bit more accurate. You probably do want to, even if you don't have this much maintenance, you probably want to set some extra aside in case there are those larger capital expenses. Property management, again, at 10%. And then the vacancy, the same thing. And then this is the, with them both together, this is factoring the NOI. So we have a $120,000 NOI based on 10% property management and 4% vacancy, and then probably a little bit high on the utilities and repairs and maintenance. But this is super conservative. And then for what they're in it for, so this is going to cost a total of 1.525 million. That's almost an 8% cap rate on this rental, which is pretty crazy. Like there's not really anything in Boise that's getting an 8% cap rate right now, unless it's just total. I mean, even the ones that are I don't know that I've seen a 8% cap rate in Boise for years. So you guys that look at more rentals, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's typically on new construction, especially, it's usually 5.25 to 5.5. And really it's just the method here is renting by the room. You can't do this everywhere, but because it's only like 3 blocks from BSU, it makes it a perfect opportunity to rent by the room. Okay, getting back to the list over here. Sorry, I have so many tabs open, I have to figure out which ones are active. Okay, so that's Hale Street. That's probably the best deal that's on the list for from a rental standpoint. We also have, this is still on the list, 2912 South Harmony. This has been on the market for several months now. It's likely overpriced, so I think if somebody had a client that wanted to do this as a flip, sorry, let me. So if somebody wanted to do this as a flip, it has a really great potential to split it, build a new house. This is actually factoring in selling everything, so they could make 178. I bet you could get this for closer to 400, maybe a little bit less even. So probably walking away with almost $200,000 in profit on 331 out of pocket. And for you guys that haven't been on this list before, so this out of pocket a lot of times is a little bit high of an estimate because this is based on putting 25% down on the existing house. It's paying out of pocket the entitlement fees, building fees, all the interest costs. And a lot of those fees, a lot of those expenses you can actually roll into construction loans. So if somebody wanted less cash out of pocket to maximize their return, a lot of times they can get this capital invested down. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at these deals and I'm presenting them, is this is usually like max out of pocket. And if they want to go more for less out of pocket to maximize their return percentage, we can underwrite it that way too. We just have to look at all the numbers and make sure that they still work for construction loans. So typically construction lenders are going to want like max 75% loan to value. Some of them get, you can maybe get a little bit higher, but normally it's 70 to 75%. So as long as you're in that range, you can usually find a construction lender that'll do that and minimize your out-of-pocket costs. But with this one, so we have the entitlement cost, development costs. The new lot value here is pretty conservative. This is like if they had to, like if they just put it on the market and sold it to a builder, this is likely what it would sell for. And then if they just wanted to sell the lot, that's the profit there. And then this would be the ideal new construction size. So this is 1,800 square feet plus a 400 square foot garage. And then the estimated cost there with the build, what our fee is on it, what the estimated loan cost would be. This would be based on a 12-month process. Most of the time, you can from permitting to exit, if they're refinancing especially, they can be out of this in like closer to 7 months probably. If they're going to sell it, sometimes it takes a couple months plus another month to close. So 12 months is usually pretty good. And then if it takes 11 months, that's even better. But then this is what we anticipate the new construction house in that neighborhood to sell for at that size, and then the profit on that. This house specifically does, so it is kind of turnkey. It could theoretically be rented, but ideally it's fixed up a little bit. So like just updating, I don't think any major moving walls, just really like updating the cabinets and kitchen and flooring and paint and that kind of thing. And then we have the ARV on this house fixed up, the sales costs, the holding costs of like carrying the mortgage on it. And then once it is fixed up, so 4-month renovation and then getting it rented out. So that would offset some of this holding cost. And so that's partly why these deals work so well too, is because these all have existing houses on them. So once they're fixed up, if they need to be fixed up, they can be rented. So that kind of cancels out a good chunk of the holding costs. And then this is the profit of the house after sale. That's factoring in the difference between holding costs and rental income as well.
Hey, Zach,
And
when
then
you calculate, can I ask a couple
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah,
When you
absolutely.
calculate the rental income, like are you like budgeting in like a few months that it's going to be fixed up and then you start making that income, or how do you run those
Yeah.
numbers?
Yep. So this one specifically, so if it does need fixed up, so I factor in like how long I think it's going to take to fix up plus get it occupied. So this is 4 months to get it like fixed up. Probably 3
Okay.
months on the repairs and then another month to get it occupied. So that's
Okay.
factoring that in already. And then
Okay, got
on
it.
the actual rents, what I do also, and this is another thing that we would go further into in due diligence, but what I do on the rents is I just type in the address into Rent-A-Meter and take the average rent, and I typically like round it to the nearest $10 or whatever.
Okay, got it. Great.
And then what we do in further due diligence is actually reach out to property managers and get those like more tuned in, and then also like compare against listings that are on the market, ones that we know are rented, what they're getting, that kind of thing. And so a lot of times what I found too is like a lot of times when I underwrite these here, they're a lot of times kind of low on the rent, or they're about right. It kind of depends on uh the condition of the property as well. So like if they're turnkey, but they're maybe a little bit dated, it might be more accurate. But if you end up fixing it up, you might get a couple $100 more a month in rent. So like this one as a 3-bedroom or whatever it is. Yeah, 3-bedroom in Southeast Boise, 2,300, that might actually be a little bit low. It might actually, like if it's fixed up, it might actually rent for closer to 2,500 or more. So we try to be conservative on our estimates, even on this underwriting. But then once we dive in deeper into the due diligence, we'll like really get these numbers honed in. King Street, so this one isn't really a good deal necessarily on the split, and even as a rental, not great. This 1524 Victory, trying to remember which this one is. But yeah, this one could actually be a decent deal. This one's still on the market. So this one, not great on for a flip, but could be just a good like long-term split off the lot. You end up in only having 130,000 in capital left in the deal once you sell the original house, and then you'd have some cash flow on that of 250, or if you do a short-term rental, 730. Okay, on small multifamily, Pond Street, not a great deal. I am selling this one I own. I'm selling this one as a completed unit also actually right now. So like I'm actually willing to give somebody a pretty good discount as a completed unit. I got this down to 2 3-bedroom units between 1383 and 1444 square feet on the duplex. And then there's an existing house on the property. It's at the back of the lot. So we're actually converting that to a duplex, or sorry, a ADU. And so this budget actually has the renovation also factored into that of that existing house. And we're actually going to sell this for $1,050,000 as a completed unit. If somebody pre-buys it. Otherwise, we'll build it and sell it on the market at market rate, which is probably like 1.15 million. So somebody could get like $100,000 discount on it by buying it pre-built. Okay, subdivisions. So these ones are all pending. Allenbaugh. So that part of town is just not great at that price point. I like the project in general, but it doesn't really pencil for me anyway. And then let's see. Also, just for the people that are new on this call too. So on these, I don't do full underwriting or even like high level underwriting on all these deals as subdivisions, because these are more frequent that come on the market, and they don't sell as quickly, and we don't have as many buyers that are looking at these mid-sized subdivisions. So I put them on the list. If you have clients that are like wanting to take on maybe a little bit bigger deals, we can actually look at these one-on-one and figure out which ones are good deals. So if you have somebody that's looking for 5 or 6 units, either to keep as rentals or they want to make a bigger return on their investment, these are typically going to take a little bit more capital. So if you have people that are working with 500 to $1 million or more, that's typically what these deals are going to take. One thing too, if anybody has any people that are looking for flips, so I put this one on the list because it could potentially be developed. The issue that is the zoning, it's not necessarily an issue, the zoning itself, because right next door is R1C. So I bet I'm willing to bet the city would rezone it. The issue is that there's no sewer in Hill Road right here. It does seem like it's available just down the road a little ways. It's just a matter of how expensive that would be to get over to the property. So that would be a major due diligence thing that we would have to look into. But this is going to be an auction property on September 20th. But the reason why I put it also on the list also is because it could actually be a really good flip. So this size house, I've seen them sell for like as much as 950. And then 750 is pretty conservative on the estimate. And then I put a good healthy rehab budget in there as well. So on the flip, somebody could theoretically probably make 80,000, possibly into six figures if it gets the higher price. And then theoretically, if it could be rezoned and we could get sewer and water there, you could actually add 8 more units. There's just a bigger question mark with that. And unfortunately, because it's an auction property, it's hard to do the due diligence. But because it's a good flip anyway, somebody could theoretically buy it as a flip and then, kind of go down the route of trying to get it developed and see how that pans out. This is another one. 920 Clitheroe is an interesting one. This is actually down at the end of the street of the house that I own. And this one is actually could be 5 new lots, townhome lots. So they've actually just, I think today, reduced the price. It's now down to 450. The main issue with this, so it's 2 separate lots. The one lot is a mobile home on a foundation. So the benefit to that is you could probably rent it out while you're going through the subdivision process. The problem is at some point you're gonna, when you go to develop it, you'll pretty much have to tear out the mobile home. And then if you have a mortgage on that, you'll have to, kind of buy out the mortgage or whatever. So this is mostly a cash deal. If it's gonna make sense, or figure out how to, finance part of the cost of that mobile home into the construction loan, which theoretically you can do, like half of the cost probably. So you could probably still finance 225 of the purchase price into a construction loan. So you could get this capital down a little bit, but I'm just factoring in buying this for cash. So the subdivision process will take a little bit of time, but theoretically you could do 5 lots and then just do 5 attached townhomes. And then the total return on that, so the total return to build those out and sell them all would be about 240. So on 500,000, that's, almost 50% return on investment. And theoretically you could get this down lower too. So you could almost make 100% return on investment. We would just have to underwrite this based on your buyer's wants and needs as far as the capital invested there goes. This one on 36th Street is an interesting deal. It's kind of a great location. It's right across from the golf course there, north of the roundabout. I actually went and looked this property before he ever put it on the market, but I think at $1 million he's asking too much. I actually offered him $1 million, but he would have to carry the note all the way through to the end. That was the only way I was willing to give him that much money, because ultimately it's, it's just he's asking too much for a house that needs to be tore down to develop. So, but it's a great location, and if we could negotiate this price down, which now it's been on the market for a month or so, somebody, he might be willing to budge a little bit. Okay. And then we have our vacant land. So yeah, this is kind of the same thing. I mean, there's definitely some potential with a lot of these. Again, it's like, typically it's a $500,000 or $1 million, so that somebody has to invest, and then we can do any of these developments. We can look at them on an individual basis. But typically on these, when we underwrite them, these are pretty close to 100% return on a lot of them. I'd say 80 to 100% return, by maximizing the leverage. And then it's over usually the course of 3 to 4 years. And the other thing too is, like, when you underwrite these, we underwrite them with today's numbers. We'll also, just for fun, kind of project out, like, if we have 5% increase every year in sales prices plus 4% inflation and construction costs, and then those numbers turn out to be even better. They end up being like You know, a lot of times they're 150% return, somewhere in there. So ultimately, if you have clients that are looking at kind of maximizing their cash a little bit more with development deals, we can look at these individually as well. And then what I'm also doing is I'm tracking anything that we've had on the deal list that is sold. So these aren't people that that any of our people that bought. I think what it will end up doing is probably following up with the people that bought them and seeing if they actually anticipated on doing what we wanted to do with them. And if they're not, then maybe, you know, proposing that to them. But then also, you know, seeing if we can get business on these that have already closed with other investors or other people that just bought the houses. Then these, we're tracking the deals that closed for our people. So we have a couple people. We just started doing this like probably 2 months ago now. So we had an investor close on this Pine Avenue. And then also this just closed like last week, 3009 North Woodlawn, or a couple weeks ago. All right, I think that's all I have to go over. Does anybody have any questions on any specific deals or anything that came up while I was explaining anything?
I'm curious, some of the deals that you're presenting where you're kind of counting on it to be cash. Have you worked with any local, banks that do a little bit more creative stuff to try and, find a way to have the cash out of pocket be lower to make those deals more accessible for a buyer who's got maybe a couple 100,000, not 400, 500,000?
Yeah, so that's something we can definitely look at, and that is an option on some of these. So,
Like you mentioned construction loans, but like, have you tried any like Cap Ed or just kind of these like smaller local banks that might be willing to like partner on a creative deal in that way?
I have not. I reached out to DL Evans Bank, but
Okay.
I didn't really get an answer. But that's something I actually want to look into further, is getting a solid relationship with a local place that has kind of understands the process and what we're doing.
I got a guy for
And
you.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I got a great contact who I'm thinking I might be curious about a couple of these deals for myself or a client of mine who likes to do creative stuff. And we've done some interesting deals with Cap Ed specifically,
Okay.
and they'd be a good contact. I just am curious if you've actually explored any of that to see if they've looked at any of them, or yeah. But anyways, yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love
no,
to have a
that's
further conversation on some of these.
yeah, 100%.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
missed
something
the
that's
very first few minutes of the call and I apologize, but is this like, now that we've been a part of your intro call, like can we get access to this list so we can reach out and dig deeper if something looks good?
yeah, so as an agent, I think I sent you the link for the videos. So one of the things that we require of people to have full access to this list is just to go watch our training videos. That way you just
Okay.
understand kind of our whole process, and makes it easier for you. So they're
Okay.
short, and you can watch them and fast forward if you
I
want.
don't know that I've
Um,
seen that email and
okay,
maybe it landed in spam, but could you
yeah, it
resend it
could
to
be.
me?
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Okay.
But then yeah, I'll get you added to this list, and then
Awesome.
yeah, and I literally look at the MLS every single day. Typically, sometimes I don't add them until, maybe the end of the week, but most of
Sure.
the deals end up they come on the market either Thursday or Friday anyway. So a lot of them
Yeah.
end up getting added Friday morning. Um, but yeah, you can look at it daily. And then one thing I started doing a couple weeks ago is updating this the column. I put the date on here, the last update that I did. So if it had a price change or if I reanalyzed it, so
Okay.
you can actually look on the date that I actually changed anything on it or it
Sure.
got added to the list.
Okay. Yeah. This is great. Yeah, I'm excited to dig a little deeper.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm definitely I would love to talk to your cap ed guy, because that's definitely
Yeah.
something that's been on the list, and that's something that's come up a couple times. I mean, I like, a lot of these we kind of have the strategy, especially if they're turnkey, of, somebody buys it with the DSCR loan, And
Yeah.
then we have, construction loan contacts that they can do on the construction. But
Yeah.
it's kind of a little bit convoluted, not convoluted. It's just a multi-step process because they have to get the first loan, and then
Sure.
on the DSR, a lot of times to do the partial reconveyance, once we have that new lot, they have to, pay some to the existing loan, or just sell that property. That's usually our strategy anyways, to sell the original
Right.
property unless it's already a good investment. So,
Yeah.
but if we
Yeah.
have
There's a
somebody
lot
that
of
kind of
moving
knows the process
pieces.
and can streamline it, that would help a lot.
Yeah, I've liked working with CapEd. I've had I don't think Connections would do it, but I've had them do some interesting creative stuff for me in the past. Just some of those like smaller local banks, they seem to have a little bit more flexibility because they're focused on like our local market. And some of them aren't and suck. And I just feel like I've gone down that rabbit hole. But I do like CapEd. I've had a couple of really great luck with them. But then I was also wondering about like some of the flip lenders out there that'll do their deals based on like ARV. And I wonder if they would work with you to do some type of lending where they lend on your like final, so you don't have to put down the amount of money to do the whole each step, but you could actually put it down like a percentage of the final product. Have you talked to any of those type of lenders to see if they would help in that way?
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, I mean, that's again probably a
Okay.
conversation that
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
needed to have, but yeah, that would be
No, it's cool. I want to know like what avenues I should be going down to see what's possible. Just because I've got to, I mean, obviously my husband and I invest, and so we're looking for ourselves always. And then I'm also just thinking I've got a couple of investors, but myself and the investors I work with, we tend to always kind of be in the range of like, yeah, I can I can figure out 100 to 200 grand to make something
yeah,
happen if it's the right deal. The 400 to 500 range is just a different level of investor.
yeah, yeah,
Those aren't the people I have on hand, unfortunately. I wish I
yeah,
did, but
yeah,
and I wish I was, but and so I'm just trying to think of there's got to be better ways to like make a deal
yeah,
like that happen.
yeah. And one thing I should say too is, all these deals, like I put in like probably the max cash amount that's going to be required, but on a lot
Yeah,
of them,
you
if you
could get
do have
creative.
people that have more like the 200,000, even the deals that I underwrite with 300,000, a lot of times like you can actually, the numbers actually work to do way less cash,
Yeah,
because ultimately those most lenders care about well, number one, on the DSCR side, it's they just care that you're breaking even on the rent or whatever.
right,
But then on the construction loan, they're looking at the LTV. So there
right.
are definitely ways to get the cash out of pocket way less.
Okay,
And then on the flip side, if they're keeping that long term, typically the less cash, the less cash flow they have at the end, but it's still they end up with an asset with they'll still have equity in it. So
right,
um,
right.
yeah, so it still works. And I'd say, if somebody has around 200,000, there's probably a deal that on the list at any given time that works.
Do and
Some of them
um
even are less than that. So
Yeah, yeah. And so, your motivation to, because you're doing a lot of pre-front work, to like vet these deals and make sure they're going to be a good deal for the investor. And your greatest motivation is that your general contracting company gets the deal and you guys are going to make money on the development and the construction, right?
yep, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm like, I mean, you're doing a lot of the legwork here, which is
Yeah,
amazing. And I just want to make sure I understand like how the partnership works and where you're winning in this deal.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
So, and I cover a lot of this in my training videos, but our
Okay.
background and kind of how we got into this part of it is like I do like kind of mid-size developments, and I'll do like single builds too, but like mostly like mid-size, like 5 to 20 units is kind of where
Okay.
I've been focusing on. But
Sure.
well, I was looking at the MLS, I saw all these deals that can be split, and I'm not going to go out and get 20 mortgages in a year. But
Sure.
it's like there's all this opportunity that nobody really knows
Yeah.
how to do because they don't have the background that I have. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, how can I use my skill set to capitalize? And really, it's like just driving revenue for my building company because
Sure.
that that's also hugely helpful for us to bring in consistent cash flow. So
Right. Right. You'll just show the deal and just bring your own new customer. It's very
yeah,
smart. It's very smart. I like it. Okay, well, cool. I will definitely look for the email and do those training videos, and I definitely want to get access to this list and spend some time, running through it myself. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you real soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Zach. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Molly. Great to see you on here.
Yeah. I know. I feel like I've been trying to get on your calls for like 6 months, and I just keep like, losing it, forgetting, life gets in the way. And I'm like, today I was like, I'm blocking it. I will be there. So thank you for continuing to post and remind me in many ways. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
cool.
you bet.